Hi, investors. Good afternoon and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Company in Focus. I am Anjz Baccay, your host for today's session. We're thrilled to have with us this afternoon the leadership team of Megawide Construction Corporation, or MWIDE, one of the country's most innovative infrastructure developers. Today, they'll be sharing valuable insights into MWIDE's growth prospects, future plans, and strategies. Let me introduce our distinguished speakers. First, we have Mr. Edgar Saavedra, President and Chief Executive Officer of Megawide. His engineering experience spans over 20 years. He earned his bachelor's degree in engineering from Dela University and became a licensed civil engineer. He later pursued specialized studies in foundation formworks in Germany through the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers. Joining him is Mr. Cruz, Chief Financial Officer of Megawide. Prior to joining the company, he built his career as a banker at BPI Capital Corporation and served as financial planning manager for San Miguel Beer's international business. He holds an MBA degree from the Asian Institute of Management and is also a certified management accountant. Also with us is Mr. Rolando or Sir Rolly Bondoy, Head of Investor Relations. Before Megawide, he served as Head of the Investor Relations and Corporate Governance Division at Felix Mining Corp. He also held roles as Investor Relations Manager at Ayala Land and Investor Relations Officer at PXP Energy Corp. Mr. Bondoy obtained his bachelor's degree from the Ateneo de Manila University. Rounding out our panel is Ms. Jamie Saberon, who previously held a role in digital communication marketing at Prime Panels Corporation. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Miriam College and furthered her education through a diploma course at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping reminders. All attendees will remain muted during the presentation, but we encourage you to submit your questions via the Q&A box at any point during this session. We'll address them shortly during the live Q&A session following the presentation. And with that, let's turn the virtual floor over to the Megawide team. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for Securities for hosting this webinar. Before we begin, allow us to share our standard disclaimer slide. So our company presentation this afternoon will be split into two parts. The first part, which will cover a brief overview of the company, will be discussed by our IR officer, Ms. Jamie Saberon. Jamie?
Thank you, Sir Rolly. Good afternoon, everyone. The first part, please allow me to go through Megawide's highlights over the last 28 years. The company was founded in 1997 by two civil engineering graduates from DLSU and was later incorporated as a mid-sized construction firm in 2004 as Megawide Construction Corporation. In 2007, the company secured a AAA PCAB license and was awarded several projects by SMDC in 2008. In 2011, the company successfully completed its IPO, which was 3 times oversubscribed. The decade from 2012 to 2022 showed Megawide's participation in various PPP projects, starting from the 10,000 public school classrooms under PSIP phases 1 and 2 in 2012 and 2013. In 2014 and 2015, the company was awarded the concession agreements for the development and operations of Mactan Cebu International Airport and the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange. Furthermore, Megawide received the EPC contract for the Clark International Airport new terminal in 2018, which was completed in 2020 amid the pandemic. In that same year, the carbon market redevelopment in Cebu and Package 1 of the MCRP were awarded. In 2022, CP104 of the Metro Manila subway project was secured together with the Japanese partners. In 2023, PH1 World Developers was acquired and providing a third leg to its portfolio via forward integration into property development. Last year, the Cavite BRT project was awarded to establish our TCD portfolio outside Texas. From a pure construction company, Megawide transformed into a fully integrated infrastructure innovator and property developer, banking on its rich construction experience and cutting-edge precast technology. Over the years, Megawide has developed and enhanced its competitive strengths, which shall discuss each in more detail in the succeeding slides. First is the Quad A rating. The company provides no limit on private contracts, while the large B contractor's license from the government allows Megawide to participate in large-scale projects such as highways, roads, bridges, airports, railroads, and power plants. Megawide operates a highly advanced, fully integrated industrial complex in Taytay, Rizal, the country's largest precast capacity and the second largest in Southeast Asia. This is complemented by a state-of-the-art batching plant, modern formwork systems, and specialized transport fleet, collectively known as the Precast and Construction Solutions Unit, or the PCS. It supports a strong and experienced design and EPC capability, allowing the company to bid competitively for various contracts and generate more value for the organization. The next few slides showcase our precast products for residential, commercial, industrial, and infrastructure applications. And we also want to highlight our customized architectural walls from our different projects, along with other equipment and services under the PCS umbrella. These features enable the company to participate as a contractor, like for the Clark International Airport, or both a contractor and operator for large-scale projects such as the PTEX. The company is also engaged in supply and build contracts such as for the MCRT projects and several locations of First Park Homes developments. Next is the natural progression into property development. With vast experience in building for several clients, became inevitable, leveraging on the design and engineering expertise and the scalability of our precast technology. This strategic move is expected to create more value for the company. In terms of financial impact, margins from constructions will be enhanced by higher margins from property development, bringing the consolidated net income to mid-teens, not to mention the increased productivity synergies will bring. The Megawide brand resonates across administration and is one of the most successful participants in the government's PPP program, and this includes the PSIP, PITX, MCIA during the President Aquino administration and the EPC for Clark International Airport under President Duterte. Megawide's excellent track record is also recognized by known developers like MegaWorld, SMDC, Double Dragon, 8990 Holdings, Sham Properties, Landers, and others. It was also secured approval of foreign contracts such as the Hyundai Engineering, Donga Construction, Tobishima Corporation, and Tokyo Construction. Operating the country's premier land port, PITX, is also another advantage. The location offers connectivity to key business districts of Mega Manila and a preferred site for locators and employers, both public and private, traditional and the non-traditional. The multi-transport mode and passenger-friendly offerings makes PITX appealing to all types of commuters and an ideal anchor for an organized hub and spoke public transport system across the country. Megawide continuously strengthens its organization to meet and dynamic management team is complemented by a diverse workforce of young, committed, and highly specialized personnel, including tenured and well-trained professionals. Expertise of different expertise are employed to help Megawide deliver quality service at global standards. And for the financial highlights and some latest development, let me start with the order book. 5 new contracts were secured in the first half of the year, comprised of solar power plants from Citicorp Renewable Energy and residential projects under PH1. This brought the company's order book to 37.6 billion as of end of June 2025, representing 2 to 3 years of revenue. In terms of project mix, residential projects cornered 33%, commercial, and the office contributing to 40%. And the infrastructure is accounting for 27% share. By year end, we expect our order book to reach 50 billion with a more diversified and strategic allocation of 35% residential, 30% commercial and office, and of course, 35% from the infrastructure. The following slides the depth of our portfolio is the Malolo Clark Railway Project at the 74% completion, Metro Manila Subway CP104 at 27%, Hotel 101 Libis at 25% completion, and the Urban Leg Ortigas at 18% completion for residential segment. Moving on to the land port operations. Our PITX continues to attract more passengers as foot traffic reached an all-time high average of 165,000 monthly for the first half of 2025, with a healthy spending per passenger recorded at 37 pesos. Occupancy in the commercial segment climbed to 93% with a healthy tenant mix of food and beverages related at 65%, and then retail at 21% and services at 14%. Meanwhile, our office towers saw an improvement in occupancy, rising to 47% from 31% last year, with additional tenants including government offices, transport services, and travel agencies are gradually establishing a presence at PITX to replace their previous POGO tenants. Currently, we are undergoing the redevelopment of the third floor area to attract new clients and leases that will welcome passengers alighting from our LRT PITX, the Asia World Station. Moving forward, the focus is to secure stable and long-term commercial and office occupants. And now let's move on to our real estate operations. Our real estate sales of PH1 amounted to 3.38 billion in the 9 months to September, compared with 1.59 billion last year. On-book revenues reached 10.2 billion, representing sales that will be converted to revenues as construction progress accelerate. In addition, unsold inventory worth more than 20 billion, which still excludes future projects to be launched, will be provide a healthy stock of future sales and revenue. We'd like to share some of progress photos as well as model units of some of our projects, starting with My Enso Loft, Badan Loft Ortigas Hills, Northscape San Jose del Monte, and Southscapes in Tres Martires. Thank you, and for the next part, I will turn the floor back to Mr. Rolly Bondoy.
Thank you, Jamie. We have discussed the past, and now it's time to move forward as Megawide enters a renewed chapter in its corporate history, anchored on delivering and delivering. For the delivering part, last September 10, the company agreed to settle the 9.4 billion advances due from parent Citicorp Holdings Investment and sister company Citicorp Power. The transaction bears two components: upfront cash payment of 3.5 billion, which was received last September 15 and was used to pay down our short-term debt by end September 30. The balance of 5.9 billion will be via assignment of CREX shares to Megawide. The initial tranche was executed last October 16 through the transfer of around 1.1 billion secondary CREX shares from CPI to Megawide, representing 9.88% of CREX outstanding common stock. This will offer immediate earnings accretion and serve as currency for future value realization. The balance will be paid before the end of the year. All the proceeds will be used to retire around 10 billion of our short-term loans over the next 12 months to improve our liquidity position and strengthen overall financial position. It will also enhance profitability via reduced financing costs, estimated at around 700 billion annually starting year 2027. For the delivering part, we have several initiatives that will ensure stable and visible revenue recognition over the medium to long term. We recently secured two multi-billion contracts from Megaworld for Uptown Modern and One Port Wood. These form part of the 20 billion new contracts we are targeting to bring our order book back to 50 billion by year end. At this point, allow us to provide an overview of a very exciting venture we are undertaking, Kapambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program. Specifically, this priority project aims to alleviate 6.5 billion housing backlog in the country, which is expected to grow to 22 billion by 2040 if not properly addressed. Through Executive Order 32 or the 4PH program, the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development plans to build 1 million housing units annually starting 2022. The initial units have been rolled out and are targeted for turnover by 2028, while new developments are being launched as we speak. Our vision of a first world Philippines is strongly aligned with the 4PH, and we are fully committed to supporting this nation-building effort. With our extensive experience and expertise in innovative design, engineering, and construction, complemented by our PCS advantage, we are confident to deliver high-quality and cost-efficient housing products with speed and consistency. Our property development arm also provides us with a strong sales, marketing, and administrative complement, allowing us to capture the entire value chain and ensure a successful rollout from conceptualization to turnover. Already, we have officially launched one project through Avesta in Imus, Cavite. We also broke ground for 4 new locations within Cavite, 2 in Dasmariñas and 2 in Bacoor. In all, if everything works on schedule, we will be delivering more than 7,000 housing units in Cavite alone over the next 2 to 3 years under the 4PH program. Another exciting development is the rollout of our TCD or Transit-Centric Development Portfolio. 2 new ventures were recently signed and they are expected to complement PITX in the ongoing Cavite BRT system. First is the Baguio City Integrated Terminal or BCIT, which will be under a 4-year lease agreement with the Baguio City government. Initially targeted to serve 7 southbound routes, including La Union, Pangasinan, Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Metro Manila, and Cavite, the terminal is initially designed to accommodate 25,000 passengers daily for both long-haul and daily commuters. The second is the South Luzon Integrated Terminal Exchange, or the SLITEX, which is under a 30-year JVA with the Carmona City LGU and will serve multiple destinations across the country, from as far north as Baguio to the BCIT and as deep south as Visayas and Mindanao, with an initial design capacity of 30,000 passengers daily. The facility will connect to PITX and other in-city public terminals and will also have direct access to SLEX via a new toll entry and exit to be completed before it commences operations. This will connect to central business districts in Metro Manila, as well as the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. These land ports and TCDs are part of our grand objective to provide the public with safe, secure, and efficient public transport infrastructure that aims to increase connectivity and enhance mobility across key cities, initially in Luzon. And finally, outside Luzon, the carbon public market redevelopment in Cebu is underway. This aims to transform the historic market into a modern, vibrant commercial and cultural hub. Once fully built up, the complex will offer 50,000 square meters of feasible GLA while uplifting the social and environmental conditions of local stakeholders. That concludes our presentation. We will now turn the floor over back to our hosts for open forum. Thank you very much and please enjoy the rest of the day.
All right. Thank you, Sir Rolly. Thank you, Jamie. That was a very insightful presentation. Now we move on to the next interesting part of this program, the live question and answer. To our dear audience, you may continue typing in your questions in the Q&A box, and we will address as many questions as possible. Okay, just scanning through our live questions here. And I guess if our Megawide team is ready for the Q&A, I will read out the first question. All right. So our first question here, what is your outlook on dividends? Is there a possibility that MWIDE common share will be given or will give dividends next year? I guess I'll read that out once more. Our first question from the audience, what is your outlook on dividends? Is there a possibility that MWIDE common share will give dividends next year?
Okay, well, I guess you were able to read our recent disclosure about the update on our dividend policy. It's actually our plan to also provide dividends to our common shareholders. Right now, as you know, we have preferred shares shareholders, and we regularly provide dividend to them. So we do realize and acknowledge that the common shareholders must also be taken into consideration. And for next year, it's also part of the plan. But as for the amount, it's something that we need to, of course, be mindful in terms of disclosures because we still need to go through the usual process of board approvals for us to be able to declare the amount to be declared as dividends to the common shareholders.
All right, got that, Sir Jazz. Maybe we'll just wait for the actual disclosure of MWIDE regarding that for next year.
Yeah, but I like to add, no, I like to add to what Jess mentioned. I guess if you look at all the initiatives that we have done this year, paring down all the debt, resolving all the advances, so you can only see you can see that this move of the management is to bring down the debt. Obviously, if you do the math, all those debt like interest costs will be converted to possibly it can be converted to dividends, right? I guess you have to look at the actions.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Ed. I'll now move on to our next question here. How much will one 200 square meter house cost if I used precast versus standard concrete?
So basically, the precast is pretty much the same, like in a conventional. Now, if the volume is so large, so big, that's the precast will start becoming more beneficial. But when it comes to quality, definitely it's far better than using a traditional construction.
If I may add, no, I think since we're talking about a row house setup, using a conventional method, it would take you 3 to 4 months to put up one house structure using conventional construction method or approach. However, for precast, based on our actual throughput time on the site, we're able to deliver 3 to 4 housing units in one day. So in terms of timing of execution, you can see the big difference and advantage of applying the precast methodology.
Yeah, the time impact is really huge, 4 times up to 8 times. The quality far better.
All right. Thank you for that, sirs. I guess I'll just go back to dividends. There's another question here. What is the dividend yield of the Series 7B shares? And where will you use the proceeds?
For the upcoming preferred shares that we are currently working on now, the pricing would still be to be determined actually this afternoon. Our pricing is scheduled at 5 o'clock today. So we will keep you posted after that.
All right. So to our dear audience, maybe to get more info on that, let's wait for 5 p.m. later this afternoon. All right. So we move on to the next question. What is the new order book, considering the new projects with Meg and the others?
What's the new?
Order book,
Order
Ah.
book, yes.
backlog, maybe the backlog. No?
Yes, as of the first half, it's around 38 billion. And we have no visibility yet as to how much revenues will be for the third quarter. But if you add the 10 billion, that will be more or less closer to 45 billion, I suppose.
So we're looking at around 45 billion, sir. So
Currently, but for the year end, we're targeting 50 billion.
yes, I
We're
was
working another around 10 billion
Yeah.
before the end of the year. So the target is to bring it to 50 billion by year end.
yes, sir. I was just getting to that, but thank you for mentioning. So you're seeing that you will be able to get that 50 billion order book target by year end. Is that what you're saying? All right. Thank you for that clarification. Moving on to our next question here. Are you planning to bid for the upcoming NSCR project?
Is that
The ONM.
the O&M? I think that's the operation and management. That's not the. We're not. I don't know if we can disclose that, but we're not so sure yet. We have talks with one Japanese partner, but we're not sure if we 50-50.
Okay, 50-50 for now. We'll wait and see, I guess, if
Yeah.
MWIDE will have future plans regarding that. Okay, we have another question here regarding CREC. So what is your plan for the CREC shares that you have acquired recently?
Yeah, in terms of the CREC, as Ronnie mentioned in the presentation, it's part of the advances closeout, no? And immediately, the effect on Megawide is we're able to treat or apply the equity method in terms of accounting. So that means our respective share in the earnings of CREC will be recognized in the Megawide books or P&L. That's possible because as per our external auditors, Boss Edgar is the owner of both entities. So because of that influence or control, we're able to apply the equity method. So there's an immediate earnings accretion on Megawide as part of that closeout. Now, as also Rolly mentioned earlier, holding the CREC shares, that's also a valuable asset and listed asset that we're able to also exercise the option to monetize or value realize in the event that we need to raise additional funds to fund the growth of Megawide or deliver the balance sheet. So we're looking into that aspect. We are just looking at the proper timing on when to trigger that because currently, as you know, then no, ang CREC, they are in the middle right now of energizing a lot of assets and they are looking at conservatively reaching 1.2 to 1.3 gigawatt in operating capacity. So when the time is right and the value is right, we are reserving that option to value realize on those shares.
All right, thank you for that, sir. Well, related to that question, regarding the advances, it shows in your slides, I think a while ago, that the 3.5 billion cash from CHII is already done and paid down 3.5 billion in short-term debt. I don't think this was disclosed yet. I was only aware of CPI settling in CREC shares. So what can you say about this?
Yeah, it was disclosed, but much earlier because when we announced about the advances closeout, the 3.5 cash infusion was done upfront already. So that one has been executed already. And the advances of or the closeout using the transfer of the CREC shares was part of the plan to fully settle the remaining advances.
All right, got that. Again, to our dear audience, feel free to drop in your questions in our Q&A box and our Megawide team here will gladly answer your queries. Okay, next up, What is the update of BRT Cavite and 4PH and housing in Cavite as well?
Okay, yeah, BRT, we're now doing all the design and engineering. But we plan to start the bus the flying of the buses by next year. We're looking at Q1, but we will do it in stages, meaning we will start fewer buses and then we will increase the frequency of the station and the number of buses or the schedules as the foot traffic or as the passenger traffic increases.
Okay, got that. Let me just
And then
go
the
back.
second question, sorry, Anj, what's the second question?
For PH.
Okay, for PH, we started our first for PH, which is in Imus. Now we still have 6 to 8 in the pipeline. So yesterday, as you've seen in the news, President Bongo Marcos have what do you call this, yung
Visited
yung parang grace the like the inauguration of the expo, the first expo of the Pag-ibig, and you can see the successful launching of Pag-ibig because it's packed, no, so many people, and then you can see that a lot of Filipinos are really in need of houses. So we if we can, we're trying to close a lot of this. We call it the beneficiaries because initially from the initial documentation, our beneficiaries is so many that we know it because of the backlog. So what I'm trying to say is that these 6 to 8 projects can potentially be more, much more.
Yeah. If I may also share, no, for the rest of your viewers, the beauty of the 4PH program compared to other real estate private developments. For the 4PH, the beneficiaries are already identified. And in terms of the process, before we even start constructing a building or a tower, the beneficiaries will already be pre-qualified and pre-approved by Pag-ibig. That means right after you complete the construction, there will be an automatic takeout already or payment in full for the construction cost of the development. So in terms of market, it's relatively managed compared to your private side development. And in terms of cash conversion cycle, it's also much faster. So it's something that's, I think, will be very favorable for developers like us that's able to deliver at scale the required housing program by the government.
Yeah, because technically this is a socialized housing, categorically classified as socialized housing, but remember that there is a negative connotation of socialized housing. Quality of the product normally is very low, no, but that's not for our product. See, to mention it.
Yeah. So I think kasi just to give them a additional background, a lot of contractors are having difficulty meeting the 4PH requirements because it requires volume or scale and done at a very short period of time. But Megawide, through our precast technology, that's a unique advantage because our method, we use our factory to mass produce the components and then deliver, assemble on site. So for us, it's an advantage because the higher the volume, the lower is our per unit cost. So that's why we are capitalizing on this opportunity to be able to accelerate the growth of the company and at the same time serve the required demand, no, on the housing by our country, by the government. And to that, there is an aspirational goal for the group to launch 100,000 units. In terms of number of years, I let na lang si Boss Edgar commit on the timeline.
Yeah, because I think yung nagugulat sila, no? 100,000, just to give you perspective or size, what is 100,000? 100,000 units is practically worth 200 billion. So, sabi ko nga, can we really do 200 billion in the next 5 years? The answer is yes. Ang mas mahirap doon, dalawa lang eh. Yung permitting and the cash, of course, to make the construction faster. But capability-wise, in terms of technical, operational, it's doable. 4 megawide.
Yeah, got that, Bob. We have another question regarding that actually. So, Is the total 4PH project already included in the 38 billion order book?
Hindi pa, hindi pa. That's on top.
Mm.
Once our finance team was working on one transaction, once that fundraising is done, we're looking at this year, we can, if that will be like successfully completed, we'll make a special disclosure because it will really have a significant order book size.
We'll keep you posted in November. We have a special disclosure.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, a lot of disclosures that we're going to wait
Yes.
for Megawide.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So another follow-up actually regarding that. So how will you do the 200 billion projects with the current balance sheet?
Yeah. Okay. Well, in terms of the balance sheet, the debt to equity ratio of Megawide parent, which is the basis for our covenants, is 1.55 times. As earlier pointed out by Rolly, we have a plan to even delever, and we have a roadmap to bring down our debt to equity ratio by 1 times, in the next 12 to 18 months. In that program, within the next 12 months alone, we are paring down 10 billion worth of debt. Now, this 4PH program is taken in isolation because the way we will roll this out, we have a structured funding that we are currently working on that will allow us to be able to support these aspirational targets. Part of the disclosure that we will be providing in November is actually directly related to this funding structure, wherein we're able to raise funds in an equity format to allow us to scale fast and sustainably, in terms of supporting the multi-year program in delivering this number of units.
All right, got that. I guess it's a pretty interesting topic for our audience. They have another follow-up question regarding this actually. So how much roughly is the 4PH order book?
Well, if it's 200 million, roughly around 100 plus, maybe 140, meaning for 100,000, no?
Or maybe what we can do is per
How much
phase.
per phase na
Maybe we
lang?
can do per
Okay,
phase
yeah.
para more immediate.
Yeah, tingin ko, yeah, if you will do it in a per phase, let's say for next year, yeah, big, maybe additional 20 billion additional.
Yeah. Just to give a context, if say 100,000, we do a launch of 20,000 units per year, so that's total 5 years end to end. Of course, when you launch, there's also a time period in terms of construction cycle, which in this case, we're looking to deliver it around 2.5 to 3 years for every batch of 20,000. So I think in terms of order book, you're looking at roughly around 20 billion pesos as you
For,
was
yeah, for
mentioned,
next year, yeah.
for the next one, yeah, for the next 2 years, 2 to 2.5 years.
All right. So far, I'm not seeing any more questions related to that topic, but let me get back to the CREC shares topic a while ago. So we have a question here. Is the debt convertible to CREC shares? Means that MWIDE and CREC are merging.
No. Actually, as mentioned earlier, it's an advances in the books of Megawide that's already paid or closed out in the form of the transfer of CREC shares. So now we're just holding onto an asset. So it's a cancellation of the advances, and in return, we're able to receive CREC shares as payment. So there's no also plans of merging the two entities because we feel that having a separate entity for engineering and construction and infrastructure on one hand, and then on the other, we have the renewable power platform, a separate entity, is better in terms of funding structures and even risk management. But we share the same common parent company, ultimately, which is Securities.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, sir. Moving on to the next question. I heard there are plans to expand the Clark Airport. Will you also do the expansion?
Um, if I heard it right, I think the expansion is mainly on the runway side, right? If that's right, if that is correct, then it's just purely construction. Well, it depends. No, it depends. Number one, it depends on the who is conducting the bid, how transparent it is, the process of the bidding, and of course, the size of the bid also. If it's sizable, then we may, of course, we prefer a more transparent bidding process. If it's then if it's a good process, we prefer, then we may join.
Yeah. But naman, no, in terms of airport EPC, we have a very deep experience having delivered both the Mactan Airport and even the Clark, the land side, the terminal side. We also did that. We have Katiklan also currently ongoing. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Another question here. Is there a plan to engage in the post-harvest facilities, warehouse, silo, design, and build?
When do you mean design a warehouse, like warehouse facility? Logistics. We are doing those kind of projects, but based on our market study, that's not one of the biggest or upcoming, in terms of size from the construction. But we are capable of doing that. But we prefer a certain size of projects.
Yeah. If I may also share, part of the strategy of Megawide is also to, in a way, re-engineer or diversify our revenue streams. No? We mentioned earlier about the 4PH, so that's one. On the construction side, we're also looking towards shifting our revenue profile to more precast, because the precast, unlike your regular EPC, it has less execution risk because it follows a factory model, and it's also more predictable. On the 4PH, I would like to bring back the attention there, because 4PH, what we really like about it is the strong synergy it has for the entire group. Because to cater to a 4PH project, we are the developer, we are the EPC contractor, we are also the precast supplier. So if you can imagine, we're able to capture the end-to-end of the value chain, which provides a lot of value and synergy for the entire group. So those type of projects are the projects that we want to embark on moving forward. And apart from the 4PH, we're also into transport-centric developments like transport terminals similar to PIDX, which again provides another window of opportunity for us to pursue at scale moving forward.
And just to add to it, specifically, I think we're referring to the Cavite BRT system that we're also undergoing right now. If you take a look at our 4PH developments or the targeted locations, these are in Cavite, Bacoor, Dasmariñas, and where our existing Cavite BRT plan stops. So naturally, for people to be enticed to go into these locations is to have connectivity. So if we offer that, I think you solve, 80% of the problem, because that will connect to Metro Manila via PITX, and then the other TCDs will further connect it to the south, to the north. So I think it's one ecosystem that helps Megawide really capture value across the entire value chain.
All right, got that. Speaking of, can you give more clarity on the business model of a bus station? How do you earn from the docking of buses?
Okay. Well, the business model is basically you have two kinds of revenue stream now. If it's a purely terminal business, so your revenue is based on the commercial and also on the terminal fee that you're charging. If it's a terminal type of business, but if it's a BRT type, then you operate the bus and also managing the route. So basically, you have the fare box and a little bit of ancillary business on the in terms of the transport, like the buses, advertisement, and then also on the commercial. Because typically, if you have BRT, normally we are also the operator of the terminals, so you can combine.
Okay, got that. There's a question here regarding projects in Cebu. I guess our audience member here is asking about current projects in Cebu that Megawide is proud of, or maybe any plans to expand in more projects in Cebu in the future.
right now we still we kept our strategy, in terms of, well, in Cebu we're doing the public market, the carbon. We will proceed that, we will continue that. But in terms of market in Cebu, now if there are like 4PH type of market, we can participate. And then yeah, then it will fall under our criteria of finding projects.
I guess if it falls within our expertise or portfolio, we want to focus like as Jess and was had mentioned. I think the property infrastructure, if it falls, and then our EPC capability, if it falls within that, then we might take a look at it.
Yeah, maybe I just would like to add what Jess and Rolly mentioned. In construction, these are the following criteria, no, what that we try to balance. First, we prefer a diversification. Of course, you have a portfolio with different client. You try to avoid concentration risk in terms of client, and in terms of sectors, right? Number two, we try to look at the sector also. Like for example, if the sector, like let's say the commercial development such as offices, we have a view that this is a bit of soft. So the credit risk, the risk not is we have to manage it unless if the client has really a strong balance sheet. Then number three, we also look at the the growth aspect, meaning like just mentioned, we prefer for PH. Why? Because you have a big growth there. The market is huge. There's a huge potential. Number four, now if it's a synergistic to our capability, we have the strength, like the precast that just mentioned. So we prefer that. Now, and what are the criteria? And then I guess if it's infrastructure, it's also good because it's more stable. You have a more stable like a business in terms of, naman in real estate right now, sometimes real estate can become soft in one snap, right? So for infrastructure, we know that Philippines will be needing infrastructure in the next 20, 30 years. And then lastly, we also prefer projects that have a social impact. It's not all about money. We also want, if we can contribute to the community, society, to the nation building, we prefer that. We're willing to cut our margin or our profit, but basta we can contribute more. That's also part of our criteria. Like for example, school buildings. School buildings, we can drop our margin, basta, and we know it's complicated, it's difficult, it's not easy, it's very challenging, and then it's a bit bureaucratic. So, but that we know the social impact, right? How many thousands, hundreds of thousands of Filipino pupils will be benefiting that. So we that kind of projects we like.
Yeah. If maybe boss you can share about the 10,000 classrooms we already delivered.
Okay. Yeah, naman, no, during the time of Pinoy, the first PPP projects in the Philippines was awarded to us, and that was the 10,000 classroom. As you know, no, you heard the news, no, we had the problem we have now, so much backlog, 100 plus of thousand of classrooms, and then as you know in the news, diba, the government was only able to deliver out of 1,700 this year, 22 lang, diba? Can you imagine that? So I know we were consulted by by them, and they were asking us because we had the experience of delivering the 10,000 classroom 10 years ago. This is our 10th year. We deliver, we designed and then we construct and then we funded for 10 years. This is our 10th year. Now when we turn it over to the government, we make sure that all the 10,000 classrooms that we have built will be properly maintained, and when we deliver it to them, we make sure it's working. The building is still performing. So what I'm saying, right now, DepEd is coming up a new, like they want a new package, but similar to what we have completed. This one, if the government will release it, Megawide will be willingly to help support the government because we know the social impact of this one. I know there are challenges for the government for this because there are very limited bidders who can deliver this kind of project because it's very challenging. It's across, we competed across 1,700 to 2,000 plus municipalities or barangays. So can you imagine the nightmare of the logistics? We even delivered to as far as like you have to take carabaos, both pintas, like in Taal, you have to cross to the lake. So those kind of challenges.
Got that, sir. Actually, we still have a lot of questions here in our Q&A box. So again, to our dear audience, just feel free to drop any more of your questions. We're actually extending a bit so we can try to accommodate more of your questions while we have MWIDE management with us today. All right, now let me go back to our series of questions regarding the projects. No, so this one is on projects. So with projects mostly in Luzon, are there possible future plans for Vismin area for Megawide to have a more nationwide presence?
Yes. Yes. Like for example, for construction, no, yes, we prefer to do in Cebu, and now we're doing Katiklan, Panay Island. But if the DepEd project will be rolled out, of course, if even if it's Cebu, then we have to go there, right? So right now, because we are also managing the bandwidth of the management, of course, and we want to make sure there is an operational efficiency because you cannot just go to one, get a new project. We try to be more strategic, risk manage in terms of getting new projects. We don't want to just to go to a new area, new place, and just get projects without even proper, having the right people, the right management, the right team. Operationally, you're not efficient. So yes, but the answer is if the DepEd will be rolled out, probably we're gonna do more BISPIN.
Okay, let me zoom that out a bit. How about foreign projects? Does MWIDE have any plans in the near future?
Meaning going outside of Philippines?
Yes.
Maybe not in the next 1 to 2 years. We'll focus here first. Hopefully, if most of our management here will become more mature, and then we can establish it, and then meaning establish our younger generations, executive or senior managers. Then but we still have plans now in the next 5 years to look at going regional.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Ed. So we have a really interesting question here, actually. So with the ongoing issues involving DPWH contractors, how does Megawide view the situation's potential impact on the construction industry? Even if Megawide isn't directly engaged with DPWH projects, does the company see any indirect effects or risks? And how is it preparing to address them? So
Okay.
yeah, let's go with that first.
Situation because we're doing practically mostly private. Now, our only government projects are PPP projects, where we normally fund our projects. We fund it through our own fundraising. Normally, it's being funded separately. We do the funding, or we have basically the overseas funded projects, the JICA, ADB. So these are the only projects that we have for government. So I guess it's more of how can we help? Is there an opportunity? Both. There's an opportunity for Megawide, and probably we can also help. Can Megawide help the government? Yes. Now, hopefully for us, if the government realizes that probably they have to shift the procurement process from a typical procurement process that they're doing now in the agency, probably they can shift it and do it in a more transparent way, just like in a PPP setting procurement. That way, then we are able to participate. When we participate, we prefer to participate together with banks because naman, if the banks are there and us, there's a more assurance that there's a better transparency. Right?
In fact, no, it's not only Megawide. If the government can address the procurement setup, even other major contractors
Yes.
begin to participate.
Yeah.
Because right now, as you can see on the news, not a single large contractor participate in this type of projects, no, na surrounded by controversies because of that very nature na
Yes.
hindi transparent yung proseso. But I think if
Yeah.
we're able to address that, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. I think the government have realized, but it has been there for the last several decades. So this is a good time for government to start exploring and probably develop the by working with private sectors rather than purely working with the small time on this mom and pop, but getting new and unqualified contractors, but getting awarding them huge projects. This is a good time to work with the private sectors and then work with the big ones who can help and support the government in developing all this infrastructure. We know we really need this.
Yeah, if I may add to that, just a follow through on that. I read somewhere that because the government right now, even in terms of budget, it's very tight, and we have all of this disbursement process issues. There's a lot of talks going around again reviving the PPP structure. So in terms of opportunity within the construction industry, we believe this will be a very good time and an opportunity because the PPPs, as I mentioned earlier, it will attract all sorts of parties, proponents, not only in Philippines, but even foreign contractors can be attracted to participate.
All right, got that. Another relevant topic among us these days, and I guess this will be a last question this afternoon. In terms of natural calamity, earthquake, what will be your thoughts, let's say, for the big one, and how will Megawide be affected by this?
Yeah. In fact, the last earthquakes that Cebu had, we sent all our structural engineers and engineers to inspect all the projects that we have built, we have constructed to check. So far, so good. Now we also have initiatives now on looking on past completed and uncompleted ones, especially the completed one, to double check because we want to help all our client making sure to maintain the project, even those projects that we have completed more than 10 years ago. Because naman, right? But it doesn't mean that when the project is completed, because in Philippines, the industry is still not that mature in maintaining structural building, right? So it's not a standard thing. So we're working with our old clients and then remind them on what to do with these completed projects, because from time to time you have to check the building, even though it's 10 years old, 20 years old, especially if it's like 20 years old, right? To check it and make sure if there are cracks, and then from time to time you need to not retrofit, but improve, enhance. Now, if it's a bit old, so you have to retrofit the structure. So that's the initiative we're doing. I think it's a good thing for us to do this because it reminds everyone from our team to make sure that the structure is properly maintained and it's done correctly.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Ed. Yeah, and that ends our Q&A this afternoon. Unfortunately, we only have limited time today, but don't worry, to our dear audience, our management will answer the questions that weren't answered this afternoon. Again, thank you for being very participative this afternoon. Before we go, maybe some quick parting words from our guest speakers this afternoon.
Okay. Sige, maybe I'll circle back to the first question because yun medyo maganda yun. They were asking about dividends.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I will answer this, sabi ni boss, you need to do the math because I cannot declare dividends now. It's the power of the board to do that actually.
Yeah.
But in terms of doing the math, maybe I'll leave the audience with some levers. The first lever is in terms of strengthening the balance sheet of Megawide. Our initiative to pare down 10 billion worth of loans in the next 12 months will have immediate benefit in terms of balance sheet strength and even interest cost savings. So that's the first. The second will be 2 to 3 years revenue visibility in our EPC through a diverse order book, which earlier was presented by both Jamie and Rolando. The second is the growing capacity utilization of our precast, serving both our internal requirements and even external clients. Currently, we are only utilizing 25% of our capacity. But next year, with all our pipeline projects together with the 4PH program, we're able to boost this to 80%. So that will have immediate earnings accretion to the group. The third is growing contribution also of our real estate. PH1 World Developers, anchored on end user demand, and particularly with the 4PH resilient market, will be again a strong force now moving forward for the group. And if you combine all of these aspects in terms of earnings in 2026, we are estimating to hit a bottom line of around 1.2 to 1.5 billion net income by 2026. And by 2027, we're targeting around 1.8 to 2 billion pesos. So in terms of math, you can already see that big substantial improvement on bottom line can generate a lot of, I would say, ammunition for us to also share the value to our common shareholders. So I think I'll end with that. So a lot of exciting times for Megawide and the group.
Yeah, so to add to that, since just mentioned to you the financial side, you do the math. If you look at the actions, what the management has done, you can already connect the dots. Now, I guess for the audience, now for the investors, shareholders who, if you see the new order book that will coming out, and then we were able to fill that up, and then you can see the quality of the orders, then you do the math also. Then I think the roadmap becomes more achievable, right? Because mahirap yung puro bola, di ba? But if you have the numbers, the asset, the all the what do you call this, advances are gone, and then the debt is lowering, and then the new order is coming. So at least you know naman, we just have to build and execute, then the whole thing, the dots will be falling into proper places. Thank you,
Sir
thank you
Rolly.
everyone. Thank you,
Alright.
Anj.
Thank you, Sir Ed, Sir Jess. Thank you also, Sir Rolly and Miss Jamie. Thank you for your time this afternoon and for the thorough and well-crafted presentation. And that wraps up our company in focus this afternoon. Thank you again, everyone, for the lively discussion. Hopefully, everything you learned today will be helpful to your investing journey. Finally, to help us improve the quality of our webinars, we kindly request for 2 minutes of your time to fill out our feedback form for this session. You may scan the QR code flashed on your screens. Thank you so much for your participation. This special briefing with Megawide Construction Corp was made possible by First Metro Securities. Again, I am Anjz Baccay, and in First Metro Securities, it's your future first.